merveilleux.
You spoke French.
Yes?
Say it again.
C'est merveilleux?
Something strange is coming over me.
If you think this scene from The Addams Family was edited, look again. You couldn't be more wrong. Back in 1964, we were introduced to TV's most ghoulishly charming family on screen for the first time. Since then, this family has remained a pop culture treasure, with the most recent spin-off of Wednesday released in 2022. But have you ever wondered what mysterious details went into creating one of TV's most iconic families? Here are 20 crazy behind-the-scenes secrets and facts about this sitcom you might have missed. Let's get into it. 20. The family was originally a newspaper cartoon. Many people remember growing up watching different versions of The Addams Family. But did you know that long before the show ever hit the airwaves, the spooky family's first appearance in the world was as cartoons drawn by Charles Addams in the New York Times all the way back in 1938? That's right, like many TV family staples and blockbuster movies, The Addams Family is a book adaptation based on Charles's single-panel comics from the New Yorker's 1938 to 1988 publications. Interestingly, when Charles began publishing his cartoons, he had no names for the characters, meaning all of the names in the show had to be developed both by the show's creators and some of the cast members themselves. So, no, the cartoon characters weren't called the Addams Family. In fact, the producers were clearly paying tribute to the original creator with the family's last name. Additionally, the cartoon characters might have cemented their place in so many people's hearts, but they didn't possess strong personalities that could be adequately interpreted on screen. As a result, the showrunners also had to develop the personalities we now associate with the family. All of the unique names we know of the characters we know and love today were developed through different means, some of which were not even decided until the characters made their television debut. For example, Wednesday's name was inspired by a nursery rhyme, inarguably one of the most popular of the OG characters. Partly thanks to Tim Burton's spin on the show, Wednesday Addams got her name from the nursery rhyme Monday's Child. The rhyme assigns traits to children born on different days of the week, and the line, "Wednesday's child is full of woe," felt like the perfect fit for the gloomy, serious, but occasionally childlike character. And the producers couldn't be more right. Today, viewers of the show often associate the name Wednesday with the gloomy little girl they watched growing up. Little details like this truly mark the show's leap from static drawings to fully realized beloved TV characters. But it is perhaps the show's theme song that is most remembered by viewers. 19. The theme song almost didn't happen. Did you know the Addams Family theme song almost didn't happen? Bet you didn't. The theme song, which you can say has become something of a cult classic, has remained a hit for decades. However, it almost didn't make the show. Initially, ABC had considered reducing costs by not hiring a professional composer, but thankfully producer David Levy stepped in, insisting that they hired the best composer, Vic Mizzy. After several back and forths, ABC finally heeded the advice, and the result is what has become one of television's most iconic theme songs. Vic enlisted the help of a harpsichord, the finger snaps, and Ted Cassidy, who plays Lurch, to punctuate the lyrics with rhyming words like neat, sweet, and petite. Initially, the duo wasn't sure how the song was going to play out, but thanks to Vic's experience arranging earworm melodies, he was able to create the beloved classic. Interestingly, for the 1991 film's release, producers wanted a similar sound but with an update, so they enlisted the vocal stylings of MC Hammer, tasking him with coming up with an amalgamation. Drawing his inspiration from the OG theme song, MC Hammer wrote Addams Groove, the song which plays during the closing credits of the film. His version also features his rap verses, all of which directly tie into the plot of the new film, but are accompanied by the familiar riffs from the theme song. Additionally, it was also used in the sequel Addams Family Values. 18. John Astin auditioned for another role. John Astin played a huge role in the development of the show, delivering an astounding performance that solidified his place as one of the most wonderful interpretations of Gomez Addams. But the truth is, he didn't always know that he was going to play Gomez on the show. Initially, John had auditioned for the role of Lurch the butler, but he found it very difficult to envision himself in the role. Thankfully, the producers recognized his potential as the father, Gomez, and ultimately decided to cast him in that role. Upon getting the role, John's woes were not over. For a short period, he struggled to settle into the role as he believed he did not possess the acting chops to portray the comic book character in a non-stereotypical manner. Thankfully, after deep introspection and practice, John's skills were undeniable, and he single-handedly developed Gomez into the lively, love-struck husband we know today. 17. Carolyn Jones' Morticia costume. One of the most difficult aspects of any production is probably getting in and out of costumes. For Carolyn Jones, wearing and taking off her Morticia Addams costume was the bane of her existence. According to her, she often dreaded slipping into the outfit and makeup, as it usually took up to 2 hours daily to get the signature pale complexion just right. Plus, she also had to wear a wig made of 100% human hair, in deep congrats with her shorter, blonde hair. In the end, it all paid off, but it didn't mean she enjoyed the process. Additionally, it also took her about 20 minutes to get out of the costume. Thankfully, all this effort helped her become the elegant yet spooky matriarch that we won't be able to forget anytime soon. Speaking of human hair, there was also one character who had to struggle in their costume, and no, it wasn't Thing. Remember Cousin It? The little hairy guy with the garbled speech? Well, he had a bit of trouble in his costume as well, which isn't exactly surprising, confirming he was covered head to toe in 100% human hair. The title guy was initially not a part of Charles's original comic, but the producers saw a need for him, and as a result, he was created as the show progressed. To achieve his appearance, Cousin It, played by Felix Silla, had to be covered head to toe in human hair. As one would imagine, it was terribly hot and itchy underneath the costume, and it didn't help that it was complete with a bowler hat and sunglasses. Felix would have to endure long hours of sitting and acting in that heavy, itchy costume. Despite this, his odd appearance and unique way of speaking made him an instant hit after his debut in episode 20 of the first season. 16. Two people played Thing. Now let's get down to Thing, the disembodied hand that appeared in some scenes. This character obviously didn't have speaking roles, but he still remained very helpful. Thing is a disembodied hand who appears out of a series of boxes in nearly every room of the Addams house. In Charles' original cartoons, Thing was depicted as a lone head who simply watched the family go about their daily routine. For the show, however, the producers made him a hand. Although it's unclear what the reasoning behind Thing was, if you ask us, the family wouldn't be complete without him. Thing was usually played by Ted Cassidy, who also plays Lurch. However, when both characters had to appear side by side, Jack Vogkin, the assistant director, would step in to lend a hand. Ted was 6 feet 9 inches tall, and as a result, often had to recline on a wheeled trolley below the sight lines of the cameras, so he could insert his arm through the bottom of whatever prop it was to emerge from. Initially, he played Thing with his right hand, but occasionally Ted would use his left, just to see if any of the viewers noticed. Those who noticed often awaited Thing's appearance on screen, waiting to see if he was a left or right in the scene. 15. Pink rooms. One would not expect that a family like the Addams would live in a brightly colored house, but because the series aired in black and white, we couldn't actually tell the color of their home. Well, as it turns out, the show's set was actually a vibrant array of colors, including a pink living room, which helped the monochrome film stand out. These odd color choices made the eerie atmosphere even stranger to behold, but at least it worked perfectly in black and white format. So when next you're kicking back to enjoy an episode, just keep in mind that the colors you see on screen aren't exactly what they appear to be. 14. The mansion was a real house. Speaking of pink rooms, producers for the show went a tad bit harder with the production, opting to use a real house for filming exterior scenes. Although it might look like just another Hollywood set, it really wasn't. The exterior shots of their spooky home were of a 19th century Victorian house in Los Angeles, California. But they did have to film the interiors on a different set. Like with many popular movies and TV shows, viewers of the show desperately wanted to visit the Victorian house, but unfortunately, it was torn down in 1966, a little while after the show's cancellation in 1966. 13. Lurch wasn't supposed to talk. Did you know that Lurch's iconic "You Rang" wasn't in the original Addams Family script? Shocking, right? Initially, Ted Cassidy's role as the stoic butler was meant to be completely silent. But during the pilot, Ted ad-libbed the now famous line in his deep, resonant voice, and it was such a hit with the crew that Lurch became a speaking character for the rest of the series. Additionally, Ted was not only an actor, but also an accomplished musician in real life. However, on the show, he only pretended to play the harpsichord, which was rigged with dead keys. Before his Hollywood career, Ted worked as a professional organist in Dallas, Texas. Thanks to his musical talent, he added a unique layer of authenticity to Lurch's character, transforming him from a mere background figure into a beloved multidimensional icon of the series. You never know, but sometimes a single unscripted moment can reshape everything. Interestingly, standing at 6 feet 9 inches, Ted was a literal giant whose height often singled him out of any room. But it wasn't always a source of pride for him. Growing up, Ted was very insecure about his towering height, and as a result, often felt out of place in a room full of much shorter people. But he didn't have to worry long, as his height soon became a defining feature that ultimately landed him the role of Lurch, the Addams family's beloved butler. 12. Gomez and Morticia's romance was groundbreaking. Ever seen any on-screen couple more in love than Gomez and Morticia? We'll wait while you think. This duo's on-set romance might look all too familiar now, but back in the 60s it was absolutely revolutionary. At the time, most sitcom couples showed little affection, but the Addamses accurately captured a convincing passion that had a nationwide impact in America. But chemistry like that doesn't come easily. It's either there or not. Once John was cast as Gomez, the search for his Morticia immediately began. Expectedly, many actresses tried out for the role, but as wonderful as they were, they just didn't fit the vibe. Then in walked Carolyn Jones as the search ended. The duo immediately clicked, and just like that, the world's greatest on-screen couple was born. For many viewers, this duo and their love is what truly defines the heart and soul of the Addams family. Just witness how Gomez explodes into a ball of white-hot passion whenever Morticia speaks French, or even whenever she just walks into the room. The duo were so in love that viewers began to speculate about a more affectionate relationship between the duo in real life. Well, turns out they weren't exactly right, but not wrong either, as the actors were reportedly attracted to each other. Inevitably, their flirtatious dynamic challenged the norms of TV marriages, and it depicted the duo as equals, rather than the traditional sense of marriages in the 60s. This daring performance broke the trend of stiff, traditional roles in Hollywood, cementing Gomez and Morticia's place as one of the most iconic and remarkable Hollywood couples. 11. It was canceled despite the potential. The Addams Family first hit TV screens during the same week as The Munsters, another black-and-white sitcom steeped in macabre humor. To carve out their own identity, both shows avoided featuring guest stars from the other series. In interviews, John, who played Gomez, emphasized their differences, pointing out that while the Munsters portrayed physically monstrous characters who behaved like an average suburban family, the Addams Family was the opposite, appearing outwardly normal but brimming with delightful eccentricity. Despite these contrasts, audiences often lumped the two shows together, so much so that creator David Levy had to explain to columnist Erskine Johnson that the Addams Family aimed to stay true to Charles Addams's original cartoons. In his words, "We have made the family full-bodied people, not monsters. They are not grotesque and hideous manifestations. At the same time, we are protecting the images of Charles Addams's children, as he refers to them. We are living up to the spirit of his cartoons." Unfortunately, despite its cult following, the Addams Family lasted just 2 seasons, canceled in 1966 alongside The Munsters, as viewers lost interest in fantasy sitcoms. Yet, the Addamses have endured, exciting audiences through reruns, reboots, and films that have cemented their quirky charm. Nonetheless, the 1960s show still remains the most iconic version. However, since it only aired 64 episodes, it never achieved blockbuster ratings. Even so, efforts to revive it have been frequent. A 1973 Saturday morning cartoon was followed by a reunion TV movie in 1977, another animated series in 1992, and The New Addams Family in 1998. Interestingly, The Addams Family Funhouse, a 1972 musical variety show, was developed but never made it past the pilot stage. Though its original run was short, The Addams Family has become a cultural touchstone, proving that some stories, and some families, never go out of style. 10. First TV family to own a computer. The Addams Family holds a unique claim to fame. They were the first TV family to own a home computer. Long before Bruce Wayne relied on his Bat computer in the Batcave, the Addamses showcased the futuristic UNIVAC, Universal Automatic Computer, in their delightfully spooky mansion. It wasn't just a quirky prop, it marked the first time audiences saw a family using a computer on television. While other households were figuring out typewriters, the Addamses were ahead of their time, blending the eerie and the cutting edge in true Addams fashion. A little strange, a little tech-savvy, and completely unforgettable. 9. The light bulb effect. Ever wondered how Uncle Fester's famous light bulb trick worked? It's surprisingly simple but brilliant. The crew simply modified an ordinary bulb by replacing its innards with the workings of a small flashlight. Additionally, they threw in a tiny switch inside the base, so that when Fester placed the bulb in his mouth and bit down, his teeth would press the switch, activating the flashlight hidden inside. The result? A glowing light bulb that looked like it was powered by Fester's unique electricity. It's a clever piece of TV magic that added to the quirky charm of the Addams Family, and still fascinates fans today. 8. Asbestos lining. In the original Addams Family TV series, Gomez's signature look included a sharp, pinstriped suit, complete with a lining made of asbestos. While today we know asbestos is highly dangerous, back then it was a commonly used material for its heat-resistant properties. The production team had no choice but to use it in Gomez's suit to not just give the actor John a little extra flair, but to keep a fire from breaking out. You see, Gomez had this habit of stuffing his little cigarettes into his pockets. So, to ensure that he didn't burn himself and that it didn't become a fire hazard, the crew had to line his pockets with asbestos. Additionally, they also needed the lining to keep the suit in shape, while also allowing Gomez to engage in his signature dramatic gestures, often involving fire and explosions, without worrying about damage to the fabric. While it might seem strange today, asbestos was widely used in the 1960s for its durability and resistance to heat. Fortunately, modern-day costume designers use safer materials, but at the time, it was just another quirky piece of TV history that added to the eccentric charm of the Addams Family. We've gone over some of the behind-the-scenes secrets you didn't know about, so let's get into some movie mistakes you might not have noticed. Movie mistakes. For eagle-eyed viewers, the show offers something extra, a treasure trove of bloopers and goofs that somehow make the quirky world of the Addamses even more endearing. Let's get right into some of the most memorable slip-ups from the show's 2-season run. 7. Continuity chaos. The Addams Family was no stranger to continuity hiccups. One such example occurs in the first episode of Season 1 titled The Addams Family Goes to School. During the iconic train scene, Morticia watches Gomez with a mix of fascination and amusement. As the trains collide and explode, some viewers may notice a strange flicker. A split-second shot of Mr. Hilliard appears. This easily, we know it's recycled from an earlier scene, as just as quickly, Morticia returns to the frame, leaving sharp viewers scratching their heads. Similarly, in Season 2, Episode 8 called Green-Eyed Gomez, the doorbell knob retracts into the doorframe and the door begins to open. But in the very next angle, the door seems to start opening all over again. It's a blink-and-you'll-miss-it moment that shows how even the Addamses couldn't escape the occasional misstep in set continuity. 6. Shifting settings. Remember when we said the producers made use of a real-life mansion for the exterior of the house? Well, the transition between the real Addams mansion exterior and the studio set could sometimes be jarring. In the first episode of the first season, Mr. Hilliard is first seen walking toward the authentic house. But in the next moment, he's magically transported to a set with a porch that looks noticeably different. While the Addams home was already otherworldly, this abrupt shift breaks even their peculiar spell. Another geographical inconsistency appears in Season 1, Episode 5 of The Addams Family Tree. The family claims to live in the Cemetery Ridge district, a suitably eerie location. Yet just a few episodes prior, in Cousin It Visits the Addams Family, Morticia declares they live in the Greenbrier Woodlawn district. Perhaps the Addamses simply enjoy keeping their address as mysterious as their hobbies. Or maybe this was an oversight. 5. Audio anomalies. Dialogue bloopers add to the show's peculiar charm. In Season 2, Episode 15, aptly titled Christmas with the Addams Family, Gomez lovingly reminisces about dropping Morticia only once as he carries her. However, his lips don't move at all during the line delivery. It's either his talents extend to ventriloquism or the editors didn't notice it during editing. Another notable audio oversight occurs in the episode where Cousin It comes to visit the family. Gomez rings the bell to summon Lurch, and the iconic butler's deep "you rang" is heard. The only problem? Lurch's lips remain perfectly still. Even Wednesday Addams wasn't immune to these quirks. In one scene, she walks into the house crying, yet her mouth never moves. We can explain this by simply saying the Addams family's peculiarities extended to mastering telepathic sobs, but in reality, all of these were editing oversights. 4. Visible strings and wires. For a show that often leaned on practical effects, it's no surprise that the occasional wire or mechanism would make an unintentional cameo. In The Addams Family Goes to School, Morticia plays the flute, and viewers can clearly spot the strings that operate a basket lid as it dances in rhythm. Likewise, in The Great Treasure Hunt, Uncle Fester hands Morticia an anchor which she accidentally drops. Rather than a loud thud, the anchor bounces back up and the wire responsible for the gag is plainly visible. Even Thing, the disembodied hand, sometimes revealed more than intended. In several episodes, wires or hidden performers could be seen manipulating Thing's entrances and exits. In one wide shot, the shadow of a crew member's elbow even briefly peeks into the frame as Thing retreats into his hiding place. 3. Revealing mistakes and flipped perspectives. In the Christmas with the Addams Family episode, a peculiar editing error occurs when Gomez is filmed in reverse. His signature suit and hairstyle appear backward, making him look like a bizarre mirror image of himself. If you don't look quickly enough, you might actually miss this mistake. Similarly, Felix Silla, the actor behind Cousin It, also had a rare on-screen slip. In The Great Treasure Hunt, as the family watches Cousin It perform magic tricks, the camera pulls back a little too far, revealing Felix's legs underneath the iconic costume. It's a moment we're certain we weren't meant to see, but it is a little ironic that the magic in a show steeped in illusions occasionally wore off at the wrong moment. Although these mistakes might seem minute, in the long run, they make these bloopers so delightful as they seamlessly fit the show's whimsical tone. After all, the Addams Family was never about perfection. It was always more about embracing the peculiar, the quirky, and the downright strange. In essence, these mistakes, whether continuity errors or visible strings, remind us of the human effort behind this spooky classic. They add layers of charm to a show that was already brimming with character. But the next time you rewatch the show, do keep an eye out for these charming fails. The 1964 series, although short-lived, paved the way for the 1991 remake. Just like the original, this version also boasts some behind-the-scenes secrets that we're about to get into. 2. Legal battle. From Harry Potter to Game of Thrones, some of the world's biggest franchises have faced accusations of borrowing or even outright stealing ideas. And the Addams Family is no exception. While Charles Addams is credited with creating the macabre family, the TV series added layers to their story. Yet not everyone was happy with how the franchise evolved. In 1992, David Levy, who had developed the original 1960s series, sued Paramount for $50 million following the unexpected success of the Addams Family movie. Remember that before David's TV adaptation, Charles had only portrayed the family as nameless, spooky characters in The New Yorker. It was Charles and his team that gave the family distinct personalities and even introduced new elements, like turning the Thing into the iconic disembodied hand we know today. Plus, he also took credit for creating Cousin It, another beloved addition to the Addams clan. However, David's lawsuit still raised eyebrows, especially since it surfaced only after the movie's box office success. Had the film flopped, as some predicted during its troubled production era, some wondered whether David would have been so eager to claim credit. Ultimately, the legal battle could have been a disaster for Paramount, jeopardizing plans for the sequel. Addams Family values. However, both sides settled out of court, allowing the franchise to continue its darkly comedic legacy. And as they say, the rest is history. 1. Tim Burton didn't direct any of the movies. It's a common misconception that Tim Burton directed The Addams Family, much like he directed the acclaimed A Nightmare Before Christmas. Despite its unmistakably quirky tone that echoes Tim Burton's style, The Addams Family wasn't his project. Yet the idea of bringing Burton on board wasn't far-fetched. According to the New York Times, the studio initially considered him. Given his work with Edward Scissorhands and other darkly whimsical films, Burton seemed like a natural fit for Charles Addams's macabre world. Another strong contender was Terry Gilliam, renowned for his offbeat contributions to Monty Python and cult classics like The Brazil and Time Bandits. Terry's surreal vision made him a prime candidate to bring the outlandish Addams clan to life. But in the end, the reins went to Barry Sonnenfeld. Known for his cinematography on The Big and When Harry Met Sally, Barry was making his directorial debut, a risky move by the studio but one that paid off. While critics gave mixed reviews, the movie carved out a place in pop culture and remains beloved by its viewers. Even so, it's hard not to imagine how Burton's distinct style could have transformed the story. Terry, too, would have been a fascinating choice. But there's something about Addams's original comic strip that seems tailor-made for Burton's touch. Interestingly, Burton almost got his chance. In 2010, Illumination Entertainment announced plans for a stop-motion adaptation of Addams's original cartoons, with Burton set to direct. Having helmed iconic stop-motion films like The Corpse Bride, he seemed perfect for the job. But in 2013, Illumination canceled the project for reasons that remain a mystery. The early 90s saw 2 successful live-action Addams Family films, but plans for a third installment never materialized. Although it seemed unlikely that the Burton would ever get to leave his mark on this Gothic household, he finally got his chance with the Netflix hit Wednesday. Which of these behind-the-scenes secrets or movie mistakes did you spot? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video.